What would you consider to be the main points of the book?
Well, there's certainly a variety of them. Brian mentioned some of the complexity of poverty, and that's, if you don't get that straight, it's hard to move forward. We in North America often focus on the kind of the material aspects of poverty, the physical manifestations, and the economic ramifications of poverty, which are all true and deep, but we miss other aspects of poverty. And so often in our responses, we are furthering aspects of people's poverty and making them poorer. Even on the surface, they might look like they're better off. One way I've seen this manifested is that we provide kind of a relief response, a provider-receiver response. We see somebody in need. Compassion of Christ moves us, and we just want to do something. And so whether it's the local deacon helping somebody that shows up, or somebody in our own churches, or the mission board doing something internationally, our short-term missions team, we get this provider-receiver model when that's really not the situation. It's not a crisis that calls for a relief response. There's something deeper going on and more long-term. And a corollary of that is that we should always start with what people have, the knowledge they have, the social networks they have, the resources they have, and build upon those before you bring in outside resources. And too often, I've seen the North American church bring resources too soon and in too large a quantity. And in doing this, squash a lot of what I think God is doing in people to engage them in overcoming some of their own issues and their own poverties.
Another dimension of the book is trying to get the notion that good intentions are not enough. You know, when we go to the doctor, the first thing the doctor does is try to diagnose what's wrong with us, because if he or she misdiagnoses the problem, he or she will apply the wrong medicine to that problem, can actually do more harm than good in the process. The same is true when we work with the poor. If we fail to diagnose the problem properly, we can do more harm than good in the process. Now, the reality of it is, poverty is not the same everywhere around the world. What's going on in inner city Atlanta is different from rural Appalachia, and that's different from what's going on in Uganda or the Philippines or Mexico City. And so the problems are slightly different in different parts of the world, but there are some commonalities as well. And so part of what the book tries to do is to go back to Scripture to create a biblical framework for thinking about poverty, and then use that as the lens to interpret the vast complexity of poverty all over the world.